Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? I know I did for several years before I actually started. I had so many questions, how do I record? Do I need a fancy microphone? Do I need expensive cameras? Do I need to hire somebody? Do I need editing software? Do I need a studio? Do I need a website to, distribute this? How do I pay for a website and hosting? How do I get people to listen? How do I make money? And I struggle with this, and all those questions are the reason why it took me forever to just start. And the awesome thing is that Anchor solves all these questions. They answer all these questions. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. It's ridiculous. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. I'm just in my third episode in, and this is my first ad, and they're giving me $10 for this ad. It's only $10, but it's a start, and it will lead to more. So if you always wanted to start a podcast and aim to make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start in order to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. Can't wait to hear you. All right, welcome back, fight fans. This is Kyle High Club MMA episode number 6. I'll primarily be discussing the upcoming fights on the Edson Barboza versus Justin Gaethje UFC Fight Night on ESPN. The main event will be on ESPN. Prelims and early prelims will be on ESPN Plus. I believe the early prelims start at 3:30 Eastern. Prelims at 5 Eastern and 7 Eastern for the main card. There's some really exciting fights on here. I'm excited for all the main carded fights. And then I actually did research for this podcast, this episode, and these upcoming fights. So I actually watched essentially every single one of these fighters, looked up their background, seen who they fought in the past, and just gathered some data on them. So now I know who everyone is on this card, so I'm even more excited for these. So we'll get into it. And then at the end of this, I'll just discuss some of the latest UFC/MMA news as well. So this might be a lengthy podcast just because I'm not going to be naming names and be like, good luck, guys. I'll actually be talking about things. Let's get into it. The first fight of the night is at 135 bantamweight division, men's division. It's number 7 Alex Perez, who's 21-5, versus Mark De La Rosa, who's 11-1 in their careers. Perez is the betting favorite, minus 350. De La Rosa is plus 275. Perez, his last fight was versus Joseph Benavidez, and he actually got knocked out in the first round. So this is his first fight since then, and I believe it's been a while since that fight. So he's had some time off, I believe over a year. Let me check again real quick. Oh no, he fought back in November. So he had 4 months off. But either way, that's enough time for a knockout. Maybe he should take a little longer, but whatever. He's a decent fighter. He fought Benavidez, and Benavidez just fought a couple weekends ago. He's number 1 or number 2 contender at 135. He should, I think, Dana White has said he'd fight Jasir Formiga. Cejudo will fight for the 135-pound belt, and I'll talk about that later. So, Perez is a skilled fighter. I believe he used to fight at 125, but he missed weight last time he fought there, and so I think he moved up to 135 because of that. So far, he's 1-1 at 135, having lost to Benavidez and then beat somebody else in the first fight. He's a wrestling background, and he's pretty smooth on his feet, and he's got a very pressuring style, especially if he gets you up against the cage and can kind of just hold you there and wear you down. As far as Mark De La Rosa, and his nickname's Bumblebee. His only professional loss was in his UFC debut by submission from a head and arm choke against Tim Elliott. I believed he stepped in on short notice versus whoever Elliott was supposed to face. He had to drop out, so De La Rosa got his debut, short notice versus Tim Elliott, who was number 11 at the time, and he lost, but still went in there, still competed, and he's 2-0 since then. He's only 24 years old, so he's a young guy. He's got some promising talent. He's a black belt at jiu-jitsu, so he's got good ground game. So if Perez wants to take him down and get him on the ground, I think he'll be able to defend himself, at least from submissions, and maybe be able to transition, get it back up to his feet, or get an arm bar or triangle choke from the bottom. He's also married. Mark De La Rosa is married to UFC women's flyweight 125-pounder Montana De La Rosa. Just a fun fact. He trains out at Factory X in Denver with the... let me make sure that's correct, because I thought they said that. Okay. He doesn't. He's trained somewhere else. I must have heard that wrong. So, whatever. But he's got a dangerous stand-up. I don't think he as smooth on his feet as Perez. I don't think he's as smooth overall, but he's pretty patient, and he throws like 3 or 4 like hooks in a row at times. He just has like these powerful flurries, so he might catch him. But I don't know. If I had to bet, I wouldn't bet on this fight because I feel like Perez is definitely the favorite, but he's minus 350, as I said, so it's kind of a waste trying to bet on that. But I think De La Rosa has a puncher's chance. It's still a fight. He's a young fighter, and he's just going to keep getting better, especially at that age. You just sees fighters just seem to learn things faster overall. And it should be a good fight to start out the night. So then after that fight, we got Sabino Mazo, who was 6-0, undefeated. I believe making her... Is she making her UFC debut? Yeah, she's making her UFC debut. So undefeated, but hasn't fought in the UFC yet. And she's fighting Marna Maros from Sweden. And Sabina Mazo's from Colombia. She's actually from Medellin. Her nickname's the Colombian Queen. She's only 22 years old. Muay Thai background, powerful head kicks, and stays pretty patient. Looks like she has a decently high fight IQ. I actually watched some of her fights on YouTube because there was nowhere else to find them. It wasn't on UFC Fight Pass because she hasn't fought in the UFC yet. But she looks solid versus the lower talent and lower promotions. As I said before, she's only 22. So she's only going to keep getting better. And yeah, Marna Maros has 5 wins by submission. 8-3, and 5 of those are by submission. She is on a 2-fight losing streak, but she happened to fight Angela Hill and Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza is easily top 10 fighter in that division. I'd argue top 5. I think she's scrappy. She can beat anybody at any given night. And then she fought Angela Hill, who's just a long, lanky striker, very athletic, hard to deal with. But Maros has had a year-plus layoff. Last time she fought was February 24th of 2018, so it's a year and a month since she's last fought. But this will be her 7th fight in the UFC, so she won't be dealing, the bright lights or anything like that, like her opponent will. So you got to definitely take that into consideration. And since she's been off for a whole year, she's probably implemented some more things in her game. Especially coming off 2 losses to 2. They're high. I don't think Hill has a record, but I know Esparza does. Coming off 2 tough losses, I'm sure she probably refocused, centered, and maybe added some tools to her game. We'll see. We won't know until the fight takes place. Her nickname is Iron Lady. That's a cool nickname. She was ranked number 14th in her last fight, so she was ranked. She's a solid fighter, UFC veteran. And I saw her take some solid punches. She has a solid chin. So, and the Colombian Queen, Mazo, she's knocked people out with her head kicks. I believe she has 2 knockouts in her record, 6-0, and 2 of those are knockouts, and both of them by a head kick. She has some sick head kicks, very smooth. You barely see them coming. Thing is, she doesn't really set them up too well with her hands, but maybe, hopefully she's improved that since her last fights. We'll see. Mazo is a -160 favorite, and Moros is +140. I could say go either way. I'd say it'd be a decent bet for Moros, just because she's a UFC favorite or veteran. This will be her 7th fight. Whereas, Sabina Mazo is definitely, a young up-and-comer with a lot of talent, but she is making her debut, and, maybe you don't know the mental states of these fighters. You don't really know who they are, especially the up-and-comers. Some of the bigger guys, you can get for personality if they go on, podcasts or anything, and they sit and talk or give a bunch of interviews. You kind of get where their headspace is at, but either way, it's still tough. It's tough to judge how somebody's going to deal with the pressure of making their debut on the big stage for that first time. So I look forward to that fight as well. Then close out the early prelims, we have Ray Borg versus Casey Kenny. And Ray Borg is actually, I'm sure UFC fans that keep up with the news and know that he's had his son that was born recently has had some troubles, some medical issues, and so him and his family have been having a pretty tough time. But I bet you he's probably more focused than ever than trying to get a fucking W so he can get that win bonus, so he can help pay his son's medical bills. I know there's been great support out there for him. I know Brendan Schaub, former MMA fighter and current podcast, stand-up comedian, personality guy, fighter. I think he's helped with some of his medical bills. I know the Cash App has sponsored, had some promotions to help pay for that. So it's cool when things can come together and people can help each other. And, I really look forward to this fight. He hasn't fought in over a year. The last time he fought was versus Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, and he was the one that Mighty Mouse got the flying armbar against. This is back in October of 2017. Yeah, I mean, not much you can say. He was just outclassed. Mighty Mouse is just on another level. And Borg looked good. He looked decent in the beginning, and he looked decent the first time he fought Mighty Mouse. But DJ clipped him a couple times, and then went to slam him, and as he slammed in the ground, went into a fucking armbar and submitted him, and it was beautiful. But Borg's professional. He's a veteran, so I'm sure he'll come out there and actually have a little extra motivation to get this W. It's his 9th fight in the UFC. In the past, he's beat Jose Formiga, who I said earlier is the number 1 contender. He's beaten Luis Smoka and Justice Scoggins in the past. So he's a legit fighter. He's number 3 in the world right now. So he gets his W. He's in there running for a title shot as well pretty soon. But he's fighting a tough guy in Casey Kenny, who's number 15. He's 11-1-1. He's plus 230 underdog. Borg's minus 280. Kenny has been on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series twice. He's 1-1. He then had 4 straight wins in the LFA, which is just a lower organization. 2 of them were title fights that he won. And he literally just fought last Friday in LFA. Is this his debut? There's no way this is UFC debut. How's he ranked then if he's never fought in the UFC? Huh, okay. Well, somehow they gave him a number 15 ranking, and he's never fought in the UFC before, but I get what you're doing. You got to put a number by guys to try to promote it, whatever. But he literally just fought March 22nd, 2019 in the LFA. I believe he's LFA first ever double champ. So yeah, stepping in short notice and trying to fight Ray Borg, a fucking talented veteran. So good luck, man. He's already in fight shape. Hopefully he doesn't have to cut again. That would suck, having to cut two weeks back to back. I don't know what he walks around at, but he is 5'7". And he'll have a 5-inch reach advantage as well. Southpaw versus orthodox, so who knows? He could go in there short notice. Borg hasn't studied him. You may not know him that well, and he might shock the world in the early prelims. Started off with a bang. I also forgot to mention Ray Borg was also involved in the Conor McGregor bus incident way back. Habib and Alec Oquinta fought. And when McGregor threw the dolly through the window, some glass, I believe, hit Ray Borg in his eye and fucked up his eye. So he also had to deal with that, too. So that's why he hasn't fought in a while. He was supposed to fight that night, but couldn't because he got injured. His eye got messed up because of fucking McGregor. Fucking idiot. So I'm looking forward to seeing him back in there so he can make some money for himself and his family and his son. Nothing against Casey Kenny, but I'm rooting for Borg to get the W just because of that. Yeah. Sorry, I need some water. That closes out the early prelims. Start off the prelims. Got Kevin Holland, who's 14-4 in his pro career, versus Gerald Meerschaert. Definitely butchered that. Meerschaert. He's 28-10 in his career. This is at middleweight, 185. Kevin Holland's a -200 favorite. Meerschaert's plus 170 underdog. Kevin Holland is a Contender Series alum, Season 2, Episode 1. He won that match, and then he ended up fighting... Excuse me. It's some Firehouse for lunch, so... that shit was so good. Holland ended up fighting Thiago Santos in his UFC debut, because Santos, I forgot who he was supposed to fight, but Santos' opponent dropped out last minute. And Dana White was like, fuck it, let's call Kevin Holland. Supposedly he talked a bunch of well, not supposedly, he did, because I remember watching it. Talked a bunch of shit on the Contender Series while he was fighting. And, didn't even get a finish, but he still ended up winning, but they didn't give him a contract. And he said, Dana White said he called everybody for short notice fight for Thiago Santos, and nobody wanted it, obviously, because Santos is a fucking beast. I'll mention this more later. He's going to be fighting Bones for the title. So Dana White was like, fuck it, let's call this Kevin Holland kid. Because since he's likes to talk so much shit. And he accepted the fight, and he actually went in there and put on a good performance. I mean, he lost, but you can't expect the guy to beat fucking Thiago Santos on like a week's notice. Or just to beat Thiago Santos, period. That guy's a monster. So he looked good, even though he didn't get decision. Still survived and all that. His last fight was versus John Phillips. He got a rear naked choke in the third round. About last minute or so left. He seems like a pretty decent fighter. He definitely belongs in the UFC. And just with that Santos fight, I think he's probably cemented himself in the UFC for, as long as he's able to compete at this level. He's 26 years old, so he's got a bright future ahead of him. He's facing a tough guy in Gerald Meerschaert. I think I watched this guy his last fight. His nickname's GM3. And he trains out at Rufus Sport Milwaukee, which is a huge ass gym that's producing a lot of good fighters. Anthony Pettis was from there. Ben Askren trains there. Tyron Woodley. But Meerschaert's 4-2 in the UFC. His last fight was versus Jack Hermansson, who's also in this card. He lost by guillotine. That was in the first round in Milwaukee. I actually saw that live. I was there at the Milwaukee Bucks arena, and they got guillotined pretty quickly. You could tell this guy has skills. And that'll be a good fight. I think Kevin Holland will win, but it's a fight, so Gerald could definitely always come out and get the W. The next fight after that is Enrique Barzola versus Kevin Aguilar. Enrique is 16-3-1 in his pro career. Aguilar 16-1. Barzola is, and this is a featherweight fight, 145. So we'll get some young talent in the 145 division. That essentially Max Holloway is wiped clean. And Barzola's -20 favorite. Aguilar's +100 underdog. So pretty close betting odds there, and I'd agree with that. Let's see what are my notes for these guys. Where'd I put that? Okay. Barzola's on a 4-fight winning streak. He last fought Brandon Davis, who's a solid fighter. Brandon Davis fought Zabit, although he lost versus Zabit. Looked pretty decent against him, stood his ground. He beat Brandon Davis in a decision back in May of 2018, so he's had a little while off. But he's 5-1 in the UFC. His last loss was to Kyle Bochniak back in August 2016. And Kyle Bochniak actually fought Zabit as well and lost, but held his own. So those are both solid fighters. His nickname is El Fuerte, which means the strong. That's pretty cool. He's got good grappling pressure. But I wrote down he might struggle with a long fighter, a long striker. And that's not really Aguilar. I wouldn't say he's long. They're both 5'7", but Aguilar will have a 3-inch reach advantage on him, so that'll definitely come into play. But Aguilar doesn't. I don't know. He had pretty good straight punches. Aguilar's nickname's the Angel of Death. Now I'm remembering he actually had pretty good power in his hands. He's from the Contender Series, Season 2, Episode 4. He won that. And he also won his UFC debut versus Rick Glenn back in November of 2018. And this guy's pretty much a scrapper. He's scrappy, he's tough, he's got a chin. Seems like he's got a good heart, too. It's going to be hard to put him away. I think Barzola is probably the more skilled, more athletic on the feet, and might, I was going to say, and he might, I don't know. This is a close fight. I don't know how this one would go. I could see betting on either one. I might bet on either one depending on how they look when they walk out. Who looks more confident, honestly. But that should be an exciting fight. Both guys are, I don't know how old they are, but I know they're not 35. So, they'll be around for a little bit. I think they're both below 30. And they both can have promising careers. 16-3-1 versus 16-1. That's pretty fucking solid. So, yeah. After that fight, we got Ross, the real deal Pearson, versus Desmond Green. Ross Pearson's 21-15. Desmond Green's 21-8. In their professional careers, this will be at 155 lightweight. Ross Pearson's plus 350 underdog, and Desmond Green's the minus 450 favorite. Ross Pearson's been around for a long time. He was the Ultimate Fighter 9 winner back in 2009, which is crazy. He's been fighting professionally in the UFC for 10 years. This will be his 27th UFC fight. He's been on a level skid as he's gotten older and up in his years. He's 2-6 since 2016. And he lost his last fight to John Makdessi, and Makdessi fought last weekend versus Jesus Bendejo. He was supposed to fight someone else, I believe, but his opponent dropped out in a fight in Bendejo, and Makdessi looked good. So, I mean, no knocking Ross Pearson for losing that one. But now it seems he's almost like, he should stay in the UFC as long as he wants to fight. He's an Ultimate Fighter winner. So he's got a following. Fans know his name. I know his name, even though I didn't see him win the Ultimate Fighter back then. I wasn't a fan then. 2009, how old was I? That was 10 years ago. I was fucking 14. Yeah, I wasn't watching fights. I didn't even know what existed, sadly. But, I feel like he's in the guys that stick around for a while end up being veterans, and even though they know they're definitely UFC tier, like they don't have any business being in the lower divisions because they would just kick everyone's ass. But it's clear they're not going to win the belt. Like that shit, it's gone. And I'm not trying to shit on Ross Pearson, but we all know he's not going to win the belt. He's not going to be a top 15 guy at 155. Definitely not at 155. That's a stacked division. But he's still a solid fighter. He deserves to be there, and now he'll kind of be used as like a measuring stick for the up-and-coming guys, and that's what Desmond Green does. Desmond Green actually beat Josh Emmett in his UFC debut, and Josh is fighting on the main card versus Michael Johnson. So Josh is a solid fighter. This is back at UFC 210 in August of 2017. But he went 1-3 since then, so he's 2-3 in the UFC. He lost his last fight versus Merabak Tazminov. He's got some cool dreads. I wrote that down. He is a southpaw. He's got a college wrestling background. And he's fast. He's decent stand-up. He's a long fighter. He'll have a 4-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage. He honestly hasn't really beat anybody or proven himself in the UFC yet. But, if you can get a win off a name guy like Ross Pearson, even though Ross Pearson's 2-6 since 2016, it could go a long way to bumping your stock in the UFC. And I think he'll more than likely do that. He might be the biggest favorite on this card. Yep. Desmond Green's the biggest favorite on this card, and I think if it's just based off athleticism and just athletic ability, I think he'll probably just be able to circle Ross Pearson the entire time, and honestly, he could just circle and hit him with jabs all day and probably win the fight. I hope he does more than that and puts himself in a little bit more of a danger, like so exciting. We'll see. I think either way it'll be a good fight. Ross Pearson never has a boring fight. He likes to charge forward. He's got decent boxing. So we'll see how it goes. To close out the prelims, we got Marina Rodriguez, who's 10-0-1, so she's undefeated, versus Jessica Aguilar, who's 20-7. This is at 115 in the women's strawweight division. Rodriguez is a minus 330 favorite versus Aguilar plus 260 underdog. Marina Rodriguez is a Contender Series Brazil 2 alum. She won that. In her last fight, she had a draw versus Randa Marcos, and Marcos just fought Angela Hill last weekend and beat her up pretty good. Rodriguez has got a Muay Thai background, and she's good at keeping distance and using her reach advantage and her height advantage in this small division. And what did I say? She's a betting underdog, and I can see why. She's got 4-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach. But it's not to knock Aguilar. Aguilar's had a couple fights in the UFC, although she's 1-3 in the UFC. She made her debut versus Claudia Gadelha, and we all know how good Claudia Gadelha is. And she lost her last fight versus Weili Zhang, who's an up-and-coming young Chinese women's fighter. And she ended up losing by armbar. And basically just got outclassed that whole match. Honestly, this might go the same way. These 2 fights in a row are the most undermatched fights in the card. I was going to say at least betting-wise, but I guess no, the line's smaller at Rig Board. Yeah, these are the 2. Oh, dropped my pen, sorry. These are the 2 as far as Vegas is concerned, and as I'm concerned now, as I'm looking at it face-to-face. These are the 2 most mismatched fights on the card to finish out the prelims. So maybe we'll see an exciting finish or something. But if the underdog wins, then that's a cool story as well. So yeah. To start off the main card, we have Sadiq Yusuf, who's 8-1 from Nigeria, Contender Series alumni. He was in Season 2, Episode 6. He won, and he also won his UFC debut, a round 1 knockout. This man is powerful. He's got tree trunks for legs, young dude, 25 years old. And he's fighting Shimon Moraes. This is at 145, the featherweight division. Sadiq Yusuf's minus 140 favorite. And by the way, all these odds I'm pulling off of ESPN.com because they actually list their information there and keep it up to date. And the UFC website does not, and it pisses me off. Their navigation sucks. And ESPN's is a lot more smooth and just gives you the details like it should. Whereas UFC is just put a bunch of fancy graphics in there and half the time they don't load and your fucking search sucks as well. But that's besides the point. And so, I mean, this should be a close fight. Moraes made his UFC debut versus Sadiq, so that sucks to make your debut versus a monster like that. He's 2-0 since then. He's got a strong power right and good kicks, and he's very patient. So I think this will more than likely be a stand-up game. Moraes might he might take him down. I don't know how good his ground game is, but we'll see. But this will more than likely stand up. I think they both like to stay on their feet. If Moraes can connect with that his right hand, he might be able to put him out. But I think Yusuf will be too athletic and too strong for him and end up getting the W. But we'll see. This will definitely be a close one either way. After that, we got... Let's see where I am on the recording. We got Paul Bearju Craig versus Kennedy Neshcheku. I know I've pronounced that wrong. I apologize. I'll hear the announcer say it this weekend, and I'll get it corrected. Paul Craig's 10-3, and Kennedy is 6-0, undefeated. This is a light heavyweight bout, 205 pounds. Paul Craig's plus 150 underdog. Kennedy's minus 180 favorite. Bearju is 2-3 in UFC. He has losses to Tyson Pedro, Khalil Rountree, and Jimmy Crute. So all three of those guys are solid, UFC proven guys. And, can't really knock a guy for losing to 3 solid guys. But it just means he might not be in that tier yet. He's not ready for that. So this will be a good test for Kennedy to see if he's possibly ready for that tier. If he can get past Paul Craig, then maybe he faces one of those guys. You move up to the next tier. But Craig's got 9 wins by submission. And he has some decent timing and takedown shots. I watched his last fight. God damn it, who did he fight last? I fought Jimmy Crute last. And although he lost that fight and ended up, I believe, losing by armbar, and his stand-up wasn't the best, for sure. He wasn't that smooth. He didn't seem too agile, too swift on his feet. But he definitely has some power. He looks like a strong dude. And he had good timing in his takedowns. Good timing in his shots. So, we'll see how this fight goes. Kennedy, his nickname's the African Savage. I said earlier, from Nigeria. He's a Contender Series alumni, Season 2, Episode 8, and Season 1, Episode 6. This will be his UFC debut. And really all I have written down, he has good distance. He's huge for this division. He's long for this division. And so is Craig. He's 6'3", but Kennedy's 6'5". And he has a 7-inch reach advantage on him, and he's a southpaw. So he'll definitely have the reach and disadvantage over Paul Craig, and that's how he likes to fight. He likes to keep it at distance. He just, I believe it was Paul Felder that was calling it on his Contender Series fight, his last one, because I just literally watched this today. But he said sometimes he's a little too passive in his strikes and he's not attacking as much as he should. He did end up getting a knockout in that fight, so it kind of ended up being wrong. So we'll see how that goes. I think if Craig wants to win this fight, his best bet is to put it up against the cage, cut off that distance, and try to get some takedowns. I don't think we've seen this guy's ground game at all. Or at least I haven't. I haven't looked that far into it. But if Paul Craig has 9 wins by submission, he obviously has some ground skills, and I think he should. That's got to be the path of least resistance for him in this fight, for sure. So if he can get into the ground, he might be able to pull W out. It might be worth placing a bet on, but I don't know. It'll be tough getting Kennedy to the ground. He's long, he's strong. So we'll see how that fight goes. I look forward to that one. Like I said, there's a lot of good fights on here. I don't even want to bet on most of these because I don't know how they're going to go. Either that or they're lopsided, and I completely agree, and that's where my money would go, and it's not worth it. But the next fight, we got a good one, which I'm surprised this isn't higher on the card, but I guess it just goes to show how good these cards are that UFC is putting on, especially when they're on ESPN. This is in the women's strawweight division, 115. This is Carolyn Kowalkiewicz. I definitely messed that up, but it was kind of close. 12-3. She's number 6 in the division. Versus Michelle, the Karate Hottie Watterson. She's 16-6 in her career, and she's number 9 in the division. So we got 6 versus 9. Kowalkiewicz is minus 155, and Watterson is plus 135 underdog. Carolina is 5-3 in the UFC. She has W's. She has wins versus Randa Marcos, Rose Namajunas, and last fight, and Felice Herring. She actually lost her last fight versus Jessica Andrade, who we all know will be fighting Rose Namajunas for the belt coming up soon. And she also lost a championship fight to Joanna Jędrzejczyk back at UFC 205 in November of 2016. When she lost to Andrade, that was back in September of last year. She at UFC 228, she got knocked out in the first round. And yeah, the karate hottie Michelle Watterson is a former Invicta champ. She's 4-2 in the UFC, and her 2 losses are versus Tisha Torres and Rose Namajunas, the current champ. And I believe Tisha Torres fought either last week or the week before, and she lost. But she's a solid UFC veteran, and that was earlier in the karate hottie's career. She's currently on a 2-fight win streak versus Felice Herring in her last fight and Courtney Casey before that. And she also beat Paige Vaden-Sandon back in December of 2016. This will be a good fight. The winner of this should be propelled, to the top of the division. Top 5 for sure. If not tied to 3, and if they get a win after that, they should be looking at a title shot. And I look forward to it. They both like to strike, keep it on their feet, fight at distance. They're both 5'3". Gaethje will have a 2-inch read advantage, both orthodox. It looks like Carolina doesn't do takedowns at all, but Karate Hottie might. She's got 2.23 takedown average per fight, which isn't much, but it's more than 0.14 like Carolina has, and her accuracies, that's over 68%. And she has some submission skills as well. Even though Carolina is the favorite and ranked higher, I think I'll probably end up putting some money on the Karate Hottie, just because, honestly, I think she is more skilled. I think she's quicker. She's not as long as Carolina, and maybe not as, not as smart of a fighter, but it's not saying Michelle Watterson's a dumb fighter. I just think Carolina's just very composed, calm, and collected. Like, doesn't get emotional at all, so it's hard to get her out of her game plan. And I'm not saying it's easy to get Watterson out of her game plan, but she definitely tends to open up a little more, take a little more risks, which is more exciting. And you got to risk it to get the biscuit, but sometimes if you risk it, the opponent might eat your biscuit, if you catch what I'm saying. Either way, this will be an exciting fight, and no matter who wins and no matter who I bet on, I look forward to it, and I will congratulate the winner and loser. Next fight after this, we got Josh Emmett versus Michael Johnson. It's a great fight. Third to last fight of the night. Josh Emmett currently ranked number 10 at 145 featherweight division. He's 13-2 in his career. Michael Johnson is 20-13 in his career. And the betting line is -110 for both. So this is a pick'em fight. It's 50-50. Neither way, you're not making over 100% on your bet. So I think you should just not bet on this fight unless you really think you know who's going to win. Now, I got a check mark towards Emmett because that's just the way I'm leaning, but I don't know. And I'll tell you why. Josh Emmett is only 3-2 in the UFC. He has no big wins versus anybody. No big name. No big name guys currently. His last fight was a loss to Jeremy Stephens. He got knocked out in the second round. And he was ranked number 4 during that time when he fought Stephens. And, he looked good in that entire fight. And he actually knocked down Stephens in the first round with the crowner right hook as he was backing up towards the cage, as he was moving backwards. He has good footwork, good head movement, good feints. Really well trained. He trains at Team Alpha Male, so he's well rounded, and he's got some good guys to train with there. He just ended up getting caught by Jeremy Stephens, one of the most powerful punchers in the game, especially at 145. Not many guys get that one punch power, or that one hit power, that one strike power. And I don't know if. And Emmett does. He's got that power too. He's got that one strike power. But we'll see. He's going to be facing a tough guy, a veteran, Michael Johnson, who was a tough Ultimate Fighter 12 runner-up. He's 12-9 in the UFC, but I think a lot of his losses have came because he wasn't mentally prepared. Whether he didn't train right, or he just didn't have the right attitude going into it, or he just took an unnecessary risk when he shouldn't have, and then he got caught and ended up losing the fight or put in a bad position. So even though his record's not the best in the UFC, 12-9, he's a very talented fighter. I think if he can put it all together and be focused and concentrated on the task at hand, he could honestly beat anybody at the 155 division. I believe that. He's currently unranked. And this is 145 fight, so that makes sense why he'd be unranked at 155. But unranked at 145 as well. He's currently on a 2-fight win streak. His last fight was Artem Lobov. And before that, Andre Touchy-Feely. And before that in his career, man, he's fought everybody. He's been around since 2011, 2010, maybe 12. I can't remember the exact year, but he's been around for a while. As I said, 12-9 in the UFC, so he has He has 21 fights in the UFC. That's insane. I thought somebody who had... who had a lot before. Fucking Ross Pierce that has 27. Either way, 27, 21, that's still a lot. But, dude, Michael Johnson fought everybody. He fought Tony Ferguson back in 2012, and he beat him. He fought Miles Jury in 2012 and lost. He fought Joe Lozon in 2013 and beat him. Fought Edson Barboza in 2015, beat him. He's fought Benir Darnouche and lost in 2015. He fought Nate Diaz in 2015 and lost. He beat Poirier in September of 16. He lost to Khabib and literally a month later. Lost to Justin Gaethje in July 17th. And then he lost Darren Elkins January 18th. I mean, this guy's fought the who's who of MMA. He's fought everybody. So, this dude's a veteran. He's seen it all before, so nothing should surprise him. And it'll be an exciting fight, and I definitely see why it's a pick-em fight for sure. Emmett's ranked, and the statisticians might say he was a better fighter, but he hasn't really fought anybody big name besides Stevens, and he got knocked out, even though he looked good in the beginning. So we'll see. But Michael Johnson's fought everybody. He also will have a 4-inch height advantage and 3.5 reach advantage, so that'll go a long way. Southpaw versus orthodox, so we'll be able to reach him when Emmett can't. So should be an exciting fight. It's definitely a pick on. I'm conflicted on, every time I look at it, I think somebody else is going to win. I convince myself that the other guy's going to win. But we'll see. But after that, we got the co-main event, David Branch versus Jack Hermansson. Should be an exciting fight. David Branch is 22-5 in his pro career. He's ranked 11th at 185, middleweight division. And Jack Hermansson is 18-4, unranked. But you best believe if he gets this W, he'll probably have a number by his name come next week. Now, David Branch is 37 years old. And that's old for fighting, but and he's been around for a while. He's been fighting for a long time, but this guy is always in excellent shape. He's always jacked. He's always looks real lean, so I think his age might affect him, but who knows? He might have taken too many shots to the chin over that long career. He trains with Renzo Gracie. He actually had a UFC stint back in 2010 to 2011. And then fought in the World Series of Fighting from 2012 to 2016. I think he won all those fights, and now he's in his second stint in the UFC. Came back, fought Krzysztof Jotko, and won at UFC 211 in May of 17. He lost to Luke Rockhold in September of 17 by second-round knockout. And he actually beat Thiago Santos in a first-round knockout in April of 2018. So last year he knocked out Thiago Santos. But that was at middleweight, and Santos has been is actually up to 205 now. He's not cutting as much weight, so maybe that's what happened. But Branch is a solid fighter. You can't take it away from him. But he last fought Jared Cannonier and got knocked out in the second round in November of last year. So we'll see. He's fought some decent guys. He's been around for a long ass time. Older, definitely up there in the age. He's got a tough fight in him in Jack the Joker Hermansson. Goddamn, I don't know where that flag's from, so I apologize. But the Joker's 5-2 in the UFC. He's got a 2-win streak versus Gerald Marchant, who fights earlier in this card, and actually saw that fight in Milwaukee, as I said earlier. Choked him out in guillotine in the first round. And before that, he beat Thales Leites. So 2 solid guys, 2 names I've heard of, at least personally. The last time he lost was versus Thiago Santos by first-round knockout in October 17. So both of these guys have fought Thiago Santos. Branch knocked him out in the first round, and Santos knocked out the Joker in the first round. So some weird MMA math there. To go by MMA math alone, you'd say Branch has the upper hand. But Vegas doesn't think that. They have him as a plus 110 underdog, and Hermansson as the minus 130 favorite. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just a David Branch fan just because he's been around so long. So honestly, I'll probably put some money on him since he's the underdog. But it wouldn't surprise me if Hermansson pulled out the victory, and it wouldn't surprise me if he pulled it off in dominating fashion either. So what's beautiful about the fight game, you don't really ever know what's going to happen. And to end the night, we got the main event, what we're here for. Edson Barboza versus Justin Gaethje. Barboza's 26 in his career, Gaethje 19-2. Barboza's number 6, Gaethje's number 7 at the 155 stack lightweight division. Barboza's minus 130 favorite, Gaethje's plus 110 underdog. And we know Barboza's been around forever, since 2010. He's 14-6 in the UFC. He last fought Dan Hooker in UFC Milwaukee, and I actually was there for that fight. I saw it live. He TKO'd him in the third round by body kick. As we all know, fucking Barboza has the nastiest kicks in the game, man. I think he's the only. It's either he's the only guy, or it's him and one other guy are the only people to finish somebody by leg kick, body kick, and a head kick. Separate fights, obviously. So this dude's got devastating kicks. And I think he'll have the reach advantage for Gaethje when he goes in there. They're both 5'11", but Barboza's got a 5-inch reach advantage, and he'll probably have a leg reach advantage as well. So he'll be able to tag him with his feet all day while Gaethje won't. But Gaethje will just keep pressing forward like he always does. Probably eat some shots as he comes in and try to look to finish it. Neither of these guys have ever been in boring fights. Oh my God, it's going to be exciting. But yeah, Barboza, he's had some great wins in the past. Dan Hooker, I saw live. He fucking fucked him up, just body kicks the entire fight. Can't believe Dan Hooker is still standing and kept on going. Can't believe he didn't fold earlier. Hats off to him. It was a crazy experiment. Crazy fight to experience. He's also Beneil Dariush, Galibra Melendez, and Anthony Pettis in the past. But before this fight, Barboza had 2 devastating losses versus Kevin Lee and Khabib Nurmagomedov. And both of them just kind of took him to the ground and just dominated there and just ground and pounded him for 5 rounds and just kind of took the soul out of him in those fights. And it was tough to watch, especially being a fight fan and Barboza fan, and know how electrifying on his feet just to see him get neutralized and completely dominated on the ground. It was kind of demoralizing. You could see it was demoralizing to Barboza's too. You could just see it in his face. But I think he'll step back for Gaethje, and it should be an exciting fight no matter who wins. Gaethje was undefeated till he came to the UFC. Since he's been 2-2. He won his debut versus Michael Johnson, who of course fights earlier in the card. He knocked him out in the second round. Then after that, he lost to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier. Lost to Eddie Alvarez by 3rd round knockout and Poirier by 4th round knockout. And then he last fought and knocked out James Vick in the first round and just destroyed this guy. Just destroyed him. So yeah, this will be an exciting fight. Gaethje will keep pressing forward. Barboza will probably most likely try to keep distant, use his kicks to keep the distance, and these guys are just going to keep trading. There's going to be some devastating leg kicks thrown back and forth, and this fight is really going to come down who can take more punishment. And I think Gaethje can probably take more punishment because he's used to taking punishment over his career, but I think Barboza's more skilled. So I don't know. It's who lands more punishment and who can take more punishment. So this will be a punishment fight. This will be old school, like video game, like Tekken or Mortal Kombat fight, where guys literally have a health bar and you just button mash it until the other guy has no health left. And if you hit the guy more, then you probably win. So it's gonna be an exciting fight. I can't fucking wait. And that pretty much does it for the preview of those fights. I'm going to try to get this news in here real quick. I only got about 6 minutes left, so I'm just going to fucking fly through it. Recent fight announcements. We got Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes at UFC 238 in Chicago. So hype. Cejudo's going to be moving up to 135-pound division to try to get that belt. And TJ, as we all know, failed a drug test in that last fight with Cejudo. So Moraes is getting the shot instead of TJ. TJ really voluntarily relinquished his belt. So now they'll be fighting for the 135 vacant belt in Chicago. I'm going to buy tickets for that. I got it marked down in my notebook. Tickets go on sale April 5th. I'm buying tickets as soon as they come out. Can't wait. I'll see that live. Fuck yes. And then other announcements, we got Johns Bones Jones is going to be fighting Thiago Santos, who I mentioned so many times in this fucking preview, I feel like. And that's going to be exciting. Santos has looked like a destroyer at 2 or 5 since he's come out. He's just gone through everybody that he's fought. And oh my God, it's going to be an exciting fight. I can't wait. It's going to be essentially... they're both skilled, but John Jones is obviously the higher skilled, and I think he's the better athlete overall. More athletic, more agile, smoother, flows better. But Santos has just got pure raw power. Just pure, just muscle. And that dude is jacked. So we'll see if... I think Jones is going to have to... I don't know if Santos has a ground game. Maybe he takes him down, or either that, or he's going to have to keep him at distance and use that distance to keep him away and try to whittle him down as the round goes by through the 5 rounds. Santos usually fights quick fights, so I don't know. His cardio doesn't seem to be there because he throws everything into every shot. So we'll see how that goes. And then also on that card, and that's UFC 239. I believe that's going to be in July 8th or 6th, I can't remember the exact date, but 239 in July, early July, around July 4th weekend in Vegas. And it looks like Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal, they verbally agreed to fight each other, and it looks like they will be they'll probably be fighting on that card as well. So that'll be an exciting card. I actually see some latest news on here on the UFC website that Ray Borg, only fighter to miss weight at UFC Fight Night weigh-ins on Friday morning. He came in at 137.25 pounds. The limit for a non-title bantamweight bout is 136. Damn. So, that fucking sucks, man. Ray Borg will forfeit 20% of his purse to his opponent. God damn, that sucks because he really needs the money, and it sucks. He missed weight by 1.25 pounds. That's wild. So I feel bad for Borg, but it also, I know you got a lot to deal with. You gotta, I don't know, man. You gotta be a professional. I don't know what to say. Maybe something happened. I don't know. I don't want to. That just sucks. I just feel bad, and I know he feels even worse because he needs that money, man. Damn, that's sad. Speaking of sad and the fucking asshole who started Borg's problems with hurting his eye, fucking McGregor. So I'm sure if you're a fight fan or even hear the news at all, McGregor decided to announce his retirement a couple days ago. Now, I don't know if anybody took this seriously or not, but I think it's just a press thing. I honestly think it's just a press thing. I mean, he signed a deal. I don't know. He signed a 6-fight deal with the UFC last year. The first fight was Khabib, but he hasn't fought since then. Maybe he's just... I think it's just a press thing. Oh my God, McGregor's died. But no, he's just waiting for the right fight to fight. That's really all it is. And he's going to say he's retired until they give him a right fight, until they give him that rematch versus Khabib or whatever it is. And he can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's making enough money with that whiskey, man. He honestly doesn't have to fight ever again. He doesn't have to fight ever again after that Floyd Mayweather fight. But, I mean, the way that it looks like the guy spends the money, it looks like he will have to fight again someday. But now it looks like he's done pretty well business-wise, and he doesn't need to fight anymore for money. And he might not have the motivation anymore. He has probably everything he ever wanted now. He had the legacy, but there's still some doubts whether we all know he's good. He's definitely one of the best. He's first ever to be a 2-time champ simultaneously. But now it's kind of, ever since he fought Floyd, it's just been a hype train. And he's not fighting. And he's not proving that he's the best. He's just talking shit and being drunk all the time. And he's my favorite fighter, and the main reason why I got into UFC and why I started watching it, just because I resonated with the Irish mentality and just I don't know, that heritage. It draws to me. So I don't know. We'll see. And I have 15 seconds left, so I'm peacing out, motherfuckers. I can't believe I fit all that in within an hour, especially with all the research. It probably actually helped speed this along. So I love you. Goodbye.